Well, good day, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. This is actually going to be my first video of 2024. I know we're a couple weeks in now, but everything up until now had been pre-recorded. The family and I had taken some time off at Christmas and went on a little vacation. So I am back home and trying to get back into the swing of things. So what I want to do today's video on is I want to kind of go over my Oregon chain sharpener. The chain sharpener I have is the Oregon 520-120. So if you're interested in seeing what I think of that, stick around. So like I said in the beginning, this is a why I bought this. I'm not gonna show you how to sharpen chains. You're gonna see some chains being sharpened throughout the video just so you can see the sharpener working. But for the most part, I just want to kind of help somebody that's maybe thinking about buying a power sharpener. Maybe this will help you in your decisions. So kind of give you a little background. Like most folks, I started out, I was either hand filing chains or I would take them to a local small engine shop, chainsaw dealer, somebody like that, and have them sharpen them for me once they got to where it was going to take me too long with a file to fix them back up. You know, you get into some stone or something like that sometime, hit a piece of metal in a tree. But eventually, and I can't even tell you how long ago it was now, in doing some horse trading with a buddy, I wound up with a Harbor Freight electric chainsaw sharpener, or chain sharpener. And I will be 100% honest, that thing worked great. Honestly, I loved it. I never had any problems out of it. It did everything you wanted it to do, except the head didn't tilt. So the only thing you could do was swivel the vise to change the angle on the tooth. You couldn't change the way that the cutter come into the tooth. And that bothered me, the fact that it was fixed. Never had any trouble out of it. I just got to the point I wanted to be able to start playing around with my angles and see if I could change it a little bit, see if it worked better for me. In reality, I pretty much grind them and try to maintain the profile, the factory profile of the chain, because all I'm doing is using it to cut firewood. As long as it stays sharp, it maintains that sharpness for a reasonable amount of time. That angle, after playing with it, it really doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I just like being able to sharpen them myself. And a file does a great job. I still hand file chains, but once they get into the dirt, I hit a rock, I'm going to pull them off. I'm going to swap them out. So pretty much the only time I'm hand filing anymore is like I run a tank of fuel through it and everything's been going good, or 2 tanks of fuel, I might touch it up. Or if I get up and cut for a couple hours, stop, eat some lunch, I get done with lunch, I might touch up the chain with the file then, just to make sure it stays in tip-top shape. But generally, once if I get into the dirt, I hit a rock, I hit a nail, hit a piece of something in the tree that isn't supposed to be inside of a tree, I'm going to pull that chain off. I'm just going to swap it out, because I can swap that chain out way faster than I can stand there and file it. And then I'll stick it back in my in a chain locker or whatever I have with me, and I'll bring it back here to the house and I'll sharpen it up on the bench grinder. But that's kind of how I got to running a bench grinder. But why did I pick the specific Oregon bench grinder that I bought? So Oregon offers a 310-120. They offer a 410-120. They offer the 520-120, which is what I have here. And then they also offer a 630-120. We'll rule out the first two first. So chain wise, the 310 and the 410 will both run or sharpen anything from a quarter pitch all the way up to 404 pitch chain. So they'll sharpen the same size of chain that the 520 will. The 310 and the 410 both run a 140 watt motor, where the 520 and the 630 both run a 300 watt motor. And if you ever ask anybody that's a mechanic or does that type of work, if you can get something, do you need that extra power or double the power? No. More than likely though, you're going to get more longevity out of that bigger motor. So that's the reason I wanted the 300 watt motor versus the 140 watt motor. The 410 and the 520 can both be bench mounted or wall mounted. If you see if I can get you in here, if you'll notice, this one's got holes in the back here, and then of course the hole where this bolt's at. So you can actually mount this to the wall, directly to the wall. It's spaced out enough to where the adjuster, I don't know if you can see it, the adjuster here for the head tilt, it's spaced out far enough you can mount this directly to the wall and you can still operate everything. I don't want this permanently mounted anywhere. I have limited space in the barn. I have limited space in my shop. If it's not required to be permanently mounted, I don't permanently mount it. That way I can move it when I need the space. So on this one, you can see, so on mine here, you can see I had this receiver. I built this receiver and I made this mount. And it works just like a truck receiver and hitch. So it's just a single pin. It does a really good job. It's very stable. You can see it's got a little bit of rock to it. You don't notice that, and it doesn't affect the sharpening at all. Plus, having it in this receiver, if for some reason I wanted to work up in the shop, I have another mount up in my other shop, and I could take the whole grinder up there and use it up there too. All my chainsaw stuff's here in the barn, so it's easy just to have everything here. I used to hoof stuff back and forth, and that silliness. The barn's right here at the wood yard, so this is very convenient. I can keep everything nearby. But back to the differences in them. The 310 through the 520 all use this cam lock. Oop, let me tighten this back up. I'll use this cam lock to clamp the chain in to the vise, whereas a 630 actually has a hydraulic chain vise, so you don't have to operate anything. It's just a hydraulic mechanism. I think it's got a paddle or a trigger you pull, and that clamps the vise. I don't see that being a huge benefit, due to the fact that you're already got your hands here rolling the chain through the vise. So you're already right here, so when you let go and you just flip this, it doesn't take a lot of pressure. So like I just move it with my fingers, and you know, it's locked in and it does a great job. But so basically, the motor size was the first thing. I like that bigger motor. Like I said, mainly for longevity. The big reason I was swapping was I wanted something that had a tiltable head. So like this, I can change the head tilt on it. And one of the big benefits there is if you want to, you can now set this up vertical, and you can actually use that quarter inch grinding stone, and you can cut your rakers down. So as you're sharpening your chains and your rakers need cut back, you could do that on the sharpener. I'll be honest, that's one thing. I've done it a few times, and I just don't see the value in it on the sharpener because you have to change the wheels out. I try not to change the wheels out at all. So yeah, it's just a pain. I leave the chain in the chain vise, and then if the rakers need touched up, I'll stick them in here, and the angle in which you can get this, I can go to and work from both sides of it, and I can hand file it right here on the vise on the sharpener. So I still actually hand file my rakers. It's quick. I don't have to change out wheels. It works great. And then like I said, it's adjustability. So the head tilt, and then if you guys are buying, I've noticed that if you look at the profiles on the chains, the side angle, let me show you. Yeah. See if I can see this on here. But if you look, there's a little line here on the tooth, and that little line, I run pretty much all full chisel chains, except for my 1/4 inch stuff. That's a Pico. But like on all my other stuff, my 325 stuff and 3/8 chains are all they're all full chisel. And if you look, that line there, which indicates your factory profile and your wear line, you know, so basically once you get back to that far, they're telling you that tooth isn't safe anymore. Anyways, on that Harbor Freight one, you can't achieve this factory angle. And that's because you can't tilt the vise any. This vise here, there's a knob underneath that loosens it so you can swivel the vise to change it between 35, actually I think it's 40 degrees in either direction. But it has what they call down angle, so this will actually rock back like that 10 degrees. And by rocking that back that 10 degrees, that's what allows you to maintain that factory angle. So that was another reason I wanted to go to an Oregon versus that Harbor Freight one that I had. Like I said, I'm quirky that way. I don't know how else to put it. I just want stuff to... These guys have been making chains a whole lot longer than I've been alive, so they have a better method than I do for doing this. I cut firewood. I'm not a logger. I'm not an arborist. I cut firewood. So this works for them. I guarantee you it's going to work for me, and I like that. But anyway, so that's kind of the adjustability of it. What did it come with in the box? So right now, currently I have the 1/8 inch wheel on the sharpener. When you get it in the box, like I said, I've had this for a year now. When you get it, it is in pieces. So it's basically in a couple of pieces though. So it's the base. The base here is in one piece, and then the head with the motor and stuff on it is in another piece. And then like you got to put the handle on it, and you got to put this cover on it. But other than that, so it's pretty basic, pretty simple to put together, not real complicated. One thing I don't have laying out is it also comes with a spare spring for the head. As a matter of fact, now that I'm talking about it, I'm not even sure where I put it. But what it came with in the box, like I said, I've got the 1/8 inch grinding stone on it. And then it came with a 1/4 inch wheel. This would be the wheel that you'd use for grinding rakers. And then it came with a 3/16 grinding stone. Of course, the operator's book. A stone dresser. 2 Allen keys. These 2 Allen keys are what allow you to change out the grinding stones. And then of course it comes with a little gauge, so you can check different stuff on your chain. I mean, there's all kinds of information on it. And the book does a really good job of explaining and showing you how to use the gauge. And then also one thing I really liked is, you'll notice I got one page I keep tabbed. They have an excellent chart for setting up the grinder. So to show you your vise rotation, down angle if it's needed, the head tilt. Now I will say this. Oh, and it also has the thing down here, shows you all the different things you can use on their little gauge. So like if you don't have a chain that you're not sure what size it is, like it shows you how to use the gauge here and determine what pitch chain it is. That's really handy, especially if you've never measured that before or don't know how to measure that. So that's definitely a handy thing. What else? Oh, on this chart, the one thing I will say is if all these setups are for Oregon chains. These are all Oregon part numbers. So if you're running like a Husqvarna, and I know this is a fact on steels, their angles are slightly different. Not a huge difference, but there are some variations there. So that's why I just try to match the factory profile on the chain. And I go off of, like, if I'm running a steel chain, I use the information off the steel chain box. Well, there you can kind of see the reasons that I decided to go with the Oregon 52120. I do, even though I don't utilize the adjustability a lot due to the fact that I run the same style chain all the time, I'm glad that I have it. I do occasionally sharpen chains for other people, so that comes in handy when they bring me stuff, because you never know what they're going to show up with. Another thing, I know that there's a lot of other manufacturers of these that you can buy, and they may be cheaper than the Oregons. I don't even remember what I paid for this thing. I want to say it was $300 and some. Here, as of today on the Amazons, let's look. As of today on Amazon, it runs $390.99. And I did order mine off of Amazon. But back to one of the main reasons that I bought the Oregon one versus some of the others that are very similar and have the same adjustments. Before you go buying that stuff, look to see what the support is. Can you buy new grinding stones for it? If it breaks, can you order parts for it? You know, like the fan cover on this motor is plastic. If for some unforeseen reason I hit that and I break it and damage the fan, can I order those parts versus having to buy a whole nother grinder? That's one thing. For the money, at least I know that I have some support for it. If you've watched some of my other videos where I've gone over some of the stuff that I buy, that's a big deal to me, knowing that I have a company that I can contact and I can get piece parts, I can get information on it. There's some sort of support there for it. Overall, I'm really happy with the machine. It does everything I need it to do. It's pretty easy to clean. It's very easy to set up, and I don't know. It's just been a good buy. So hopefully, amongst my ramblings, you got some useful information out of this. If you're considering buying yourself a wall-mounted or bench-mounted chain sharpener. Anyways, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I said, hope you found it useful, and I will see you all again soon.